Okay, I have been wanting to do a show on this for a long time, yet I haven't. Like, obviously been putting it off. But I've been wanting to do it because I kind of feel like add it to my collection of all the stuff that I've gone through. And I know I covered it briefly in one of my earliest like YouTube little videos. And it's the sleeping paralysis, the night terrors, the astral projection, out-of-body experience stuff that I started having. And I started having it like older than a lot of kids, you know, like I had a repetitive dream when I was really small, and then a couple of I used to have the occasional, you know, nightmares where you wake up in a cold sweat as a kid. But like sleeping paralysis stuff didn't happen to me as young as it did my son, which I feel awful for him, but at least I was able to teach him how to handle it. Where like now, if he ends up in it, you know, it doesn't bother him too much. But when it started happening to me, I had no clue what it was. And it was in middle school when it started happening, and I was going through a lot of things in my personal life, which I'll get to in a little bit. And so, it was like terrifying to me, because I know I brought that up before the first time, like I think I mentioned it in a show not too far back. The first time I had ever had sleeping paralysis, it was like, and you hear so many people explain this and experiences and so many whatever. And you know, if you've gone through a lot of sleeping paralysis, you know this classic is where you feel like something's yanking at your foot, right? Or yanking your covers off of you, or both. Sometimes it feels like the covers are being pulled off of you. Sometimes it feels like you're being pulled out of your bed. And it was like something kept grabbing at my foot. And when I opened my eyes, it was like this strange glowing thing standing there, and it kind of had, it looked alien-esque. Like you could see its bones. Like it had human bones, but it was like the shape of his head and everything just almost seemed alien to me. It was a really strange thing that I saw. And of course it freaked me the F out. And what I hated the most about going through the sleeping paralysis in middle school was the beginning and the end. And I'm sure a lot of people that have gone through it know what I'm talking about. It's like you start to learn when it's coming on, because all of a sudden it feels like there's a lot of wind. It feels like, you know, there's a lot of pressure, and it's like a tingling, almost like electrical shocks, almost like zapping at your head. And you're like, oh no, it's going to happen again. And I think one of the things I had learned was sleeping on my back made it worse. So I got to where I was a side sleeper a lot of the time. And I had bad insomnia. Really bad. And it didn't help that we had, what would you call it? Back when I was young, it was like in the early 90s. And even if they had non-drowsy allergy meds, I wouldn't have known about it, okay? Because my parents aren't going to buy anything that costs money. Even though they had, you know, the big house and everything, they were cheap in so many other ways. And, but I don't think that the 24-hour non-drowsy came out until like maybe the late 90s. I don't know. Anyway, so we were stuck taking things like Benadryl if we had allergies, and we'd get allergies real bad certain times of the year there. And so I'm already stuck taking that sometimes during the day. And I was not allowed to take it to sleep at night. And so, you know, by the time I tried to go to sleep, oh my God, like my insomnia was horrific. And then if I ever felt like the sleeping paralysis was kicking in, I would just like, you know, you make yourself wake up. So the amount of nights every time I would almost fall asleep, I'd start falling into paralysis and then make myself wake up. So I would have nights where I just couldn't get good sleep at all. I feel tired just thinking about it. Isn't that weird? It's like, I mean, I was so sleep deprived for so long. And I remember having to do finals in junior high over it. I remember, like, how it just made me miserable. It's when depression really started setting in, too. And I know, later on, like, it kind of, like, most of the time when it happened when I was young, I didn't see stuff. Most of the time, it was just, like, I felt like I would try to scream, and no one could hear me. I would try to move, and I couldn't move. And sometimes it would feel like something's sitting on your chest, and sometimes it would feel like there's wind everywhere, and there was nothing I could do. And it usually only happened when I was trying to fall asleep, not upon waking, which kind of would change as I got older. I'm trying to think, like, by the time we moved to another place and I was like a junior in high school, I didn't have it as much, but that's because I really worked on my depression and I wasn't around the people causing the depression as much. And then I still had like the sleeping paralysis on occasion, but it felt like there were other beings in the house that protected me. And then, sure enough, I found out the house is known to be extremely haunted, and a spiritist bought that house after we moved. And I think the ghosts that were in the house already were just not going to have anything to do with whatever it was that was constantly trying to harass me. Because I almost felt like they were protecting me somehow. It was hard to explain. And then I also started smoking marijuana, like self-medicating. And while a lot of my friends were smoking to get high and because it was cool and they would come to school stoned and things, I didn't want to ruin my life, and I didn't want to not be able to, make grades. I wanted to get out of my house, So, and I had a job, and so I was like going to school and then going to work after school, and I would only smoke at the end of the night just to kind of like self-medicate because I had such high, like, strung, like, type A. Didn't realize I probably had like PTSD, anxiety, I had ADHD, all that stuff. Didn't know. So I was doing that to kind of calm down at night, help me sleep really well. And I didn't have to worry about sleeping paralysis much until I moved, and then moved again to go to college, and where we were didn't know anyone, so there was no way for me to, like, get a hold of any marijuana or what have you. And plus, like, I don't know, it just seemed, it was strange, but like, I guess not having that helped the paralysis start to set back in. But oddly enough, it was like in the morning, like when I would wake up. And it was so much worse than just, pressure and things. Like, I would have out-of-body experiences. Actually, I should backtrack because I know I had one in, hold on, let me do something. I know there was one time in, I don't know, I guess it might have been junior high, it might have been like early high school at some point, but I was staying at my grandparents' house, and I woke up, like, I didn't have any of the sleeping paralysis symptoms. I just woke up and realized I was not in my body because I was like, my face was almost on the ceiling, and I was staring up at the ceiling. It's like a few inches in between me and the ceiling, and I didn't even really understand it until I glanced into the bathroom that was attached to the bedroom. And my grandmother always had night lights in bathrooms because she didn't want people to not be able to see or whatever. And there was this dark silhouette standing in the doorway to the bathroom. And when I realized there was that dark silhouette there, I'm just like, because I'm so out of it, like, I'm just waking up. In my head, I'm thinking I'm waking up, and I'm like, I can't see. What is that? And I'm trying to focus on it, and I'm like, wait, why is he way down there? And I realized I was up at the ceiling, and as soon as I realized it freaked out, I was zapped back in my body. And so, anyway, back to when I was in college, like, I would wake up to sleeping paralysis, which was horrible. Like, I fell asleep fine, but then when I woke up, it was like things would wake me up, and I was, like, not in my body. And it was almost always, like, 3 hooded entities, like, black, robed, couldn't see any features at all other than red glowing eyes under the robes. And they would throw me around the room, and it was just like they were constantly attacking me. And it felt like, literally being thrown all over the room, like, against the walls and everything. And it was just, my soul, it wasn't my body. But it just made no sense. Like, why is this happening to me? Like, why do these things keep attacking me? Like, they would flat out aggressively assault me all the time and just dragging me everywhere, throwing me everywhere, hitting me, beating me, scratching me. And my body started to get these strange marks on them. I know I've mentioned that before. Like, it would look almost like 2 little pinpricks or little burn marks. And then I would have sometimes, like, bruises, like, all over my body. I have bruises, but, like, sometimes you see, like, handprints and things, and then scratches, strange thin scratches, like super thin scratches. And I was writing to, like, my best friend at the time about it, and her grandmother was the same one that said that I was a channel and that things are drawn to me, and like ghosts and things. And she had told my best friend to write back and let me know that those were demons, and that I should like pray in the name of Jesus for them to be gone or whatever. Because, you know, I had seen some like documentary on sleeping paralysis like years before, and I kind of made sense of what it was. So I'm just like not sure what's going on, you know. I don't know. In my mind, for some reason, I wouldn't have ever thought that they were demons to me. I know that sounds weird, but I guess that was just, I was kind of at a point in my life where I had gotten really good at being normal, you know. Like I fought really hard to get out of depression, to get out of the dark places I was in, because of what happened to me in junior high. Because, you know, I was being harmed by people that I trusted at the same time I was going through the paralysis. And so I was just in probably the most carnal, like physical, like the everyday person at this point in my life. Like I wasn't like spiritually awake. Like I had kind of started waking up, but then life got busy and I got really good at being normal and kind of put to the side, you know. Like I used to love reading in Revelation, and I used to love like drawing and like thinking about like the 4 horsemen, and like so many, like I used to hyper focus on weird concepts and things, but I kind of just got busy, you know, just lifing. And I was in college for journalism, and I just wanted to be a journalist that exposed stuff and just wanted to focus on my life. And these things happening was just like an inconvenience for me. Like I don't want to be terrorized or get depressed for these things happening. And so whenever she told me that I read that letter, I remember getting on my knees and I was just like, I'm sorry. Like if you're evil bastards, just, I'm praying right now to my creator, and I'm just letting you know right now that whatever you try to do to harm me, like it's only going to make me closer to Jesus, to my maker. You know, it's not going to have the effect that you must think it's going to have, whatever. And I guess it's true, but anyway, we moved again. I ended up dropping out of college, and because, long story, but they wouldn't allow me to like go off of mine and my husband's income. They wanted me to go off my dad's income, even though they said they wouldn't. It was typical Christian college for you, you know. And they stole my marriage license, all kind of stupid shit. And anyway, I remember, like, because of the sleeping paralysis and because of the having a feeling I'm going to have to drop out of college because I can't afford to stay in it, I started really soul searching, and I had access to the internet, this was like in fall of 1999 and early 2000. And a lot of us young adults did not have access to the internet without the school or parents had a decent job, because you just couldn't afford it. And it was like a luxury. It wasn't a need then. So plus Google and stuff back then wasn't that great. I mean, you'd have like a few pages, and you'd have to go through all the pages before you even could find what you're looking for. Now it's like so much worse. It seems you cannot find what you're looking for a lot of times. And so I really started like diving into a lot of soul searching, and I kind of ended up on this spiritual path. Fast forward, we move to back home to where we were at in East Texas, and it's like the sleeping paralysis morphed there, and it wasn't every day all the time, but you'd have seasons when it was worse. And then it got a different kind of violent there. It's weird how like it changed. And I'd have weird dreams where you'd come in and out of dreams, and then you'd have the sleeping paralysis, and then you'd have like these lucid dreams, and then you'd have strange things crawling on the ceiling, and sometimes I'd realize I'm not in my body and I'm walking around in the apartment, and the lights are on when they are not on in real life. And the worst part was literally what was like incubus type energy, like where things felt like they were raping me all the time, and I couldn't understand it, and it was horrifying, and it didn't feel like sex. It felt kind of almost more like soul raping, like they were trying to get in your body, like they were almost trying to fit their, you know, soul or whatever in your body with your soul, and there's no room. So it was just like painful is what it felt like. Like, it didn't feel like pain in a sex region. It felt like pain in my whole body, because it was like fighting to try to get in there. And that happened a lot. And that was what really got me super depressed. And, I did slowly learn how to fight spiritual warfare, like, throughout the years. Like, long story short in that regard is I kind of learned that, like, if I got depressed or really down on myself, it would encourage them more. Like, they do feed off of fear, obviously, and they feed off of your sadness and your depression. So the more I would be positive and things, it really helped. I even had my alarm set to like the Christian music channel for a while, because it's like, it seemed like those things would flee whenever it would have any of that music on, because they definitely don't like the name of Jesus whatsoever. And which tells you there that it's something demonic that specifically is going after, you know, me or whatever. And I know that I got to where even if I would feel sleeping paralysis coming on, I would learn how to already start like saying like the name of Jesus, like in my mind. It's like almost like fighting psychically, telepathically. Like, you know, if I would just repeat things like, I love Jesus, Jesus loves me, Jesus, 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 you know, and what else? I don't know. Like, I love you. I would just say, I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus, and stuff like that in my head over and over again. And sometimes you could feel them trying to like cover your mouth, like spiritually, like trying to cover it and stop you. And the first several times I did this, it's like they would come at me in waves over and over and over again, and would eventually just give up because they did not want to have to fight me. And eventually they got to where they just gave up altogether and did not bother me anymore, because like, I just won't be messed with. Like, you're not going to make me afraid. You're not going to scare me. You're not going to make me depressed. I refuse to let bad dreams make me depressed anymore. And they just really don't fuck with me very often. I don't have that problem that much. And I really did have to fight spiritually to get to that point. And, you know, like now, which is weird because, like, I'm so thirsty. My mouth feels like it's going to swell up. I don't even feel like, you know, I want to talk about it, right? And I know I'm like I have a cough drop in my mouth. Nothing is like working. And I know that this is some kind of like, this is what I'm kind of piecing together. And it's not something I would ever really want to talk about or believe, because it could probably put me in danger if it was true. But I got to thinking that the people that hurt me when I was in junior high, like, they probably were sacrificing me. They probably were doing really, really dark black magic. And the reason why I say that is, like, it came on all at the same time. And whatever thing they attached to me, like, became so determined to keep me depressed and to keep me hurt and to only let men in my life who would also extremely hurt me, especially sexually and things. And this thing is hungry. It wants to feed, right? And so, like, I really have to spiritually work, like, to this day, to keep myself very protected and very guarded and prayed up in things, because you can feel when this energy is trying to come in waves and trying to pull off of me or siphon from me. And when it doesn't get its fill, it becomes furious. So it goes after things it can get to, which is not me, but say like people like family members or people that I work with, or, you know, exes that I still have to communicate with because we have kids or something. So it's going to go through them to try to hurt me if it can't get to me. And I know that demonic things just do that anyway. You know, once they get a nice taste of something, they want more. But, you know, when I look back and put the pieces together, everything just looks too set up, okay? Because all of a sudden my dad has this new friend who has a lot of money, and my dad tells me he's going to take me hunting. It's just going to be me and him. He does not tell me he's going to stop and pick up this man and his older son. And I'm like 11, okay? And his son was like 15. I remember, like, how I was already half asleep. I was vulnerable. Put this boy in the back seat with me. And when he looked in my eyes, he had, like, that kind of super sparkly, you know, the fake charming type, which I was not prepared for. And it just felt like I almost instantly felt really vulnerable around that person. And then that person groomed me for, what, a year and a half until I turned 13. Like, being too good to me, okay? But then right around the time that he knew I was going to start having my period and stuff, he started, like, being really ugly to me, you know, saying really horrifying things like, you know, you're fat, nobody wants you. And my dad started treating me the same way. It was so odd. My dad started treating me really cruel too, and really ugly things my dad would say to me too. And then my parents started, like, and just understand that this new friend of my dad's, like, they're still best friends to this day. Okay? And, my parents became, like, my mom became best friends with this man's wife. And they have a lot of money. And they do not seem that bright, okay? They, honest to God, do not seem like they just, nothing about them seems very intelligent whatsoever. Like, it's like they sold their souls or some shit. Like, it's obvious they're sacrificing or, you know, doing something they shouldn't be doing to get what they got. And, like, evil to the core. And, you know, they have that kind of, like, I don't know, they're two sons in themselves. They have those creepy vibes, like, you know, the ruling class that have, like, the reptilian kind of cold lizardy vibes. Like, they kind of look and feel like that, okay? And so, anyway, oddest thing was that, like, my parents would start taking us to their house and putting me and my brother in this bedroom alone with this much older guy till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 on average, on school nights, while they would play canasta. And they just laugh, have all this fun playing their stupid fucking canasta. And before you knew it, they moved me from my church, where I was just actually starting to form friends and a social group, and I was doing, like, the whatever that little thing is where you, like, you know, girls would, like, compete over finding Bible verses the fastest, you know, preparing us for being the good little godly wives one day, right? They moved us from the big church there to this small church their friends went to. And they also took us out of public school and put us in the private school that their son went to. And so it uprooted me from everything. We already moved so much, but we had finally gotten settled into this one place after being there for, like, what? Moved there in the middle of me being in 3rd grade. And so this was, like, between 6th and 7th grade, they moved me. So I just, like, I noticed it takes, you know, a good 3 to 4 years to even really start developing good, healthy, you know, support system. They yanked me out of all that. So I'm extra vulnerable. And then, they put me in the room with that older boy, and they would close the door, lights off, to watch movies with us under the covers. And, you know, my brother would willingly just be on the floor. Now, the things that happened to me, I don't even want to go over, because use your imagination. It probably happened, you know? And the few times, like, I tried to push this person away, you know, he would get really angry and things, and I just was scared of him. But I also thought I really cared about the person. I thought I loved the person because I'd been groomed and love bombed for the first year or so. And then I was torn down so much by him and my dad that I had no self-esteem at the time, even though I was a beautiful, beautiful young woman. And I'm like, you know, now looking back, I was like, that's like a sacrifice, like, set up, because the mom, like, his mom would be the one who usually came in at night and would open the door and say, you know, it's time to go. Sometimes my parents would follow her, but they would barely glance in, and if they saw us under the covers together, they would just act like they didn't see it and go away. But it was the mom who saw it the most. And this is, like, what I'm saying is, like, women, just because they have quiet energy doesn't make them good. Like, I'm like, this whole time, it was like she orchestrated this stuff. She knew what was going on. And creepy as shit, you know? Because this person pretended to be nice. Like, this woman, some reason, gave my mom random gifts to give me throughout the years. Like, long after I ever saw them again. Like, I had this weird canister set in my house for the longest time. Until I moved to this house and I threw them away. I had another weird bag thing that she gave my mom to give to me. And like, that stuff grossed me out. Like, you know how they say, like, they do that, like, with witchcraft, they, like, give you gifts and things to try to keep things going, you know? And, anyway, I realized that for some reason they needed, like, I don't know if the son knew what they were doing, because he was a tool, he was a selfish prick, you know, he was a dick, and so all it takes is a little bit of witchcraft and influencing and pushing. Like, we'll give you this young girl, this innocent, gullible, sweet young girl, in exchange for fill in the blank. What is your heart's desire? Money? You know, bigger status? Who knows? But that's exactly what I'm leaning towards now. And I never wanted to believe that, because that just sounds so superstitious and whatever. And I'm like, you know, yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. Because they're, like I said, they're not that bright. Like, there's no reason why. They're not business savvy or anything. They're just evil psychopaths. And I know that they worked with the Bush family. Like, because they own this sandblasting company and they make millions off of that thing. And my dad was an oil man, but he didn't make nearly as much money as his new bestie. And all through the years, like, I mean, my parents covered it up. And I don't know. Everything about it's so creepy. Like, I feel like my parents might have thought, oh, maybe we'll get her to marry into the family so we can get money. I don't know. All I know is that it seemed like it bailed him out of going bankrupt. And he seemed to have enough money to skirt by until he found him a new, better job. And he was, like, without a job for a while and going golfing all the time. I mean, I could go into all the details. It all just sounds so sick, right? It's like the typical, like, you happen to be the innocent victim of, like, psychopaths. I don't know. But the reason why I think they could have been doing this dark black magic stuff is because, like, the attacks that started happening to me coincided with the molesting. And then also, like, the severe depression kicking in and really dark thoughts. I mean, I would have, like, massive influxes of dark thoughts, you know, like thoughts of self-harm and things like that were so dark, or of other people harming me, really gory thoughts and things. And I'm like, why would that just start when I, you know, meet these people? Like, I don't know, it's so hard to explain, because I don't really have those now that I'm not, you know, around those creepy people. And then I look at what's happened in my life since then, and like how many times I was severely attacked in astral and sleeping paralysis. Like I mentioned, like, say, when I was going to college and my parents, or what was it? Like, a lot of time universities want you to have like 2 or 3 like reference letters, right? Well, they wrote one of the reference letters. So it kind of attached them to me there, and I got attacked so much there. And then even when I moved back home, not with my parents, but to the same town, it was like the things that I went through, maybe it was mad that I didn't stay at that college, or stay, because it would have been closer to them too, like physically. Like I would have been a lot closer to the town where they were at. And it seems like that things get really, really mad whenever I'm not giving them any energy. And as I got older and older, it's like I managed to fight spiritual warfare so well that it couldn't get anything from me. So then it starts using like people. You know, it's always like really abusive partners and things that all have this like same kind of like sexual deviance, some really dark issues with that. And granted, I do have, you know, Pluto in the 12th house, which, and Pluto, and, you know, Scorpio is my ascendant. So that makes it a very, like, what do you call it? Kind of prime victim, like in your natal chart, you know? Which you never know if these people know that. Like, they probably look for targets that have stuff in there. The ruling class usually does, like, use natal charts to decide what and when to do things, or in transits and whatnot. But, anyway, it's just weird because even though I have broken free from all of them, And, even my own parents, because they, never were sorry. Anytime anyone abused me, it's like they never cared. I don't know why my parents would be that. I mean, they constantly tout being these good Christians, but, obviously they're not. And they never really seemed to care if I got harmed. And I remember, like, my mom even one time telling me, she never told me this until, my kids were little. And I had almost died as a baby, of meningitis. And my mom's version of the story is that she tried to take me to the doctor a couple of times, and they said it was just a cold and that I'd be fine. But she never tried taking me to the ER. And she even called the nurse's hotline, and then they told her to put me in like a bathtub of cold water because they couldn't get my fever down. And that's when I convulsed and kind of went into a coma, and then they took me to the ER. Well, by then, the meningitis had set in so much that I had almost died. Like, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I turned 1 in the hospital. And my mom told me this oddest thing, but she didn't say it until, after I had kids. And she said that, the Holy Spirit, quote unquote, told her, like, are you sure you want her to live? And my mom was like, yes. And it was like, well, what if she goes through, doing drugs or being raped or divorce? And she starts naming all these bad things that had already happened to me, because I had had kids by then. And she said, yes, I don't care what happens to her, just let her live. And I'm like thinking, like, now I'm like, you do realize you just made an agreement, right? Like that wasn't the Holy Spirit. Like, that was probably the devil, okay? He got you to literally agree to let all those things happen to me, because you didn't have to say yes. Like, you said yes. Like, you offered me without even knowing it, because you're just dumb bitch, Anyway, so there's that. And then it's like, I know I've mentioned this before, where I wondered if I didn't have some satanic ritual abuse in my past or in my childhood, because and not for any other reason than just flat out, like, real as can be, thought that my rich grand aunt, my grandfather's sister, who married into this aristocratic family that had a lot of family in New York and in Mobile and whatever, in Alabama, and I always thought she had, like, black and white checker floors with, like, palm trees on each side. And, I remember my grandparents saying, no, she doesn't, because we'd go there for, like, birthday parties for my great-grandfather, who was a Freemason and a Shriner. And even after he died, we'd keep going and celebrating his birthday and his anniversary to my great-grandmother, whatever. Or the whole family get together or whatever. But it was so weird, because, I legit thought for real that she had black and white checker floors with the 2 little palms on each side. And then when we went back, I was like, oh, she doesn't. This is weird. Because I could have swore that's what her foyer looked like. And, like, where in my head did this happen? Did it happen in Astral? Sleeping paralysis? Like a spiritual, like, where I was out of body and went somewhere I shouldn't have, that it felt real? Was it just a really realistic dream that wasn't real? Or did something really happen that I was too young to really form a full memory of? And, like, I don't like any of it. Having so much Freemasonry in my family, and then having these people that had too much money with no personality, and somehow always had a pull on my dad. It always seemed like, he could puppet my dad. And my dad always bragged about how independent he was. So it's just, I don't know. As you can see, even though there's all this, sleeping paralysis and out-of-body experience stuff I had, and thrown out of my body, and at these attacks, it's like, you start looking back and going, well, fuck me. I guess they probably sacrificed me all along. Like, maybe they did. Maybe they were doing black magic and stuff. And the reason why I wonder that is because, like, now that I've broken free from them and won't have anything to, like, do with them, it's kind of like everything kind of, like, the haze is lifting, and you realize what heavy curses or bad stuff you have to break just to be able to get in alignment with what your true destiny is. which, I mean, creator ancestors use everything, even bullshit we can grow flowers in. So it's fine. I felt like it actually was to make me like someone who fights those types of people. They just think I'm a dumb sacrifice that they can use. But I think I came into this life knowing that I was going to teach people how to basically destroy the fuckers, like how to do them in, how to absolutely obliterate them, which is really not that hard to do. You have to learn how to take your energy back. Spiritual work really does work. What people call witchcraft and spell work and things, a lot of it is just moving energy. Energy goes in the path of least resistance. If these dark bastards are going to move energy in negative ways, it is our spiritual responsibility to move it in healthier ways. To move it where it needs to be, to send things back to the senders, to teach our children how to do this, how to protect your body and your home. It's like, Christians have been duped and taught to like not do anything that can look like witchcraft, even though Moses did, and even Jesus did things that would be called witchcraft. And I'm not gonna like ever shame women for what we're so good at doing, which is how to move energies and to move the hearts of some of the mightiest entities in the universe, because they can feel our suffering and because we love the suffering so much too. There's so many things in this earth that my love is so strong, and having love and integrity are so powerful that alone is what keeps us going. But if we actually use that to harness movement of energy, it's amazing what it can do. And I don't think anyone should ever be afraid of putting together things that, I mean, you can call those spells. I know a lot of people like to. I don't care what you call it. But, I'm going to return energy back to the sender. No doubt about it. Because that's their load. They need to carry it. I ain't carrying it. It doesn't belong to me. No one else is going to carry it. Those bastards are going to carry it. They have to actually reap what they sow. And I'm also going to protect my home. I'm going to protect my little ones. I mean, it's like saying, you shouldn't do things that can look like witchcraft because evil does that. And I'm like, okay, so you shouldn't lock your door because evil people lock their doors? Just leave it unlocked. Okay? You shouldn't even carry your money in a purse. You just carry it in your hand, carry it loose, let everyone see it, because evil people hide their money. I mean, you can't, it's so fucking dumb. It's the condition of the heart is what matters. The condition of the heart. And long before these Abrahamic religions ever existed, the intuition of a woman can change things. And so much of what we do is like folk medicine. It's not even like, when did it become witchcraft? To take both herbs and other things on the earth and use it for both spiritual and physical purposes. Like, that is something that has always been done, always will be done. Moses did it. They all did it. And I do believe in a holistic approach to medicine. It's so many things that you look throughout the ages. You look at when they use mugwort or when they use sage and things and they burn it. It actually does have like antimicrobial properties and things. So you actually are getting rid of like the spiritual forces that are so evil, but you're also getting rid of the physical evidence of those forces in the name of like viruses and other disease. And then it's like, any kind of like incense that you use or essential oil or stones that have certain vibrations. And people think if you have stones that you're a dumbass too. And it's like, it is a scientific fact that crystals vibrate. That they use it in science. They use it in technology, okay? So all of these stones have different energies too. That's why I love the idea of being an animist, because it's not so much that I see every little thing as having a soul as much as I know that the Creator is in everything and His essence and life force emanates from everything. And so therefore, everything isn't alive in its own right. And everything does carry an energy or a vibration, right? And so, you have that, and then there's also the power of words, which they also would say, or spells, or whatever. And I love using the word like incantations and things because, you know, I realize how powerful my words are and my poems are, and how sometimes I can literally invoke the creator when I'm writing or speaking, and it's so powerful that I know it changes things. And that is our birthright to do that. So if you're combining that with folk medicine that has both the spiritual and physical properties of a plant, of an element or something, you know, they're going to call it witchcraft, and that's fine. It's a craft. Good. I love doing the craft. Good. You know, but it's not the same thing. And of course, I should not ever just justify this shit. It's not the same thing as conjuring demons and asking them to lap up the life force of an innocent soul, okay? You have to fight that somehow. I mean, God, if you even think about like all the things that Moses did, like, what do you call it? Like, everything he did would be considered, like, witchcraft, okay? I guess men are allowed to do it. You know, they have a staff, and they wield their dicks around and their staffs around, and they're allowed to do it. They can be a Merlin. We cannot. So, whatever. So I do feel like the things that they did to me has made me. I know this one guy not too long ago. It was odd, too, that the son that molested me was a Capricorn, too. So was his dad. Same birthday, by the way. Both Capricorns, which is the devil card. And I'm just glad that, you know, Creator does give you double for your trouble, because now I have the most amazing Capricorn dog that I love with my whole heart. So, what I thought was weird was the, like, oh God, where was I? I got all the distractions going on. Is like crazy phone ringing, this going off, that going off. I don't know. I mean, like, I know I brought up them being Capricorn. What was that? It was like I know my first husband that tried to kill me, he was a Taurus, and he almost strangled me to death. And like, my daughter's a Taurus, she's amazing. So that was nice, but I actually really do feel like, sorry, I'll get scatterbrained easy. I'm exhausted. I have a day off, so I'm happy. I'm trying to catch up. I'm so, like, actually in love with what I can do and with what my role is. And I'm so good at it that it's like, yes, I think we're going to make changes and make waves. But I have a very strong inkling that these bastards did try to just use me as they saw me as nothing more than fresh meat. And they're paying for it now, I promise you. Sick fucks. It is really gross if you really think about it. Like, everything they put me through is gross. So nasty. Like, like, I'm able to just, like, look at it from a distance now, because I don't put myself near anyone toxic, so it's whatever. Like, it's in the past for me, but not for them, because they're gonna have to eat their own damn words and face the consequences of their actions, and, you know, and they meet their maker, and they're fucked. So will my parents, because they covered that shit up. But I don't know. I guess because my mind went blank with one thing I was going to get at. But I will say that, and I want to do some tarot readings today if I get a chance for some people. I wonder how many people actually went through dramatic things that caused them to start having this. My son started having it fairly young. But, you know, I do feel like sometimes, like, demonic attachments do try to become generational. And I know that he had gotten some from his dad, too. Because his dad did black magic. That was obvious. Which I wouldn't have believed at the time because I cared too much for him to believe that could ever happen. But he was really dark. And he never really acted like he had issues with sleeping paralysis, but my son had it very young. And now it's like when anything tries to pull him out and some demon tries to fuck with him, he's like, oh yeah? Like, he makes them his bitch. Because he's like, he's learned how to battle it so young that he can pretty much turn it on his head. And whatever, like, say a lucid dream, if they try to do something bad to him, he turns around and starts like making them hit their head against the wall or something. He's like, it's my dream. I get to control it. So, like, he totally fucks their world up. So I'm so proud of him for that. Because I know, like, if you have the gift, you know, like, if you have the gift of, like, being a dreamer or a dream walker, being able to go in between worlds and things, it's like these dark entities spot it before you do. So you have to be really cautious with that. And then I do think both his dad and then what happened to me kind of put darkness on us that you have to really be cautious about. But a lot of people that I've heard stories of, it's like they act like they only went through it a couple of times and like terrorized them and it changed their life, you know? And I mean, I went through it for years. And I know, like, some people will even mention that even if you just talk about it, it's like it's contagious and then it like happens to someone else. And that's why, like, okay, I think I mentioned this in the other one I recorded, that I don't remember his name because I don't even care to know, but whatever that dumb guy is that wrote the Big Toe book. And I hate to say that because, I mean, he might have had one valid point out of 3 or 4 in this long podcast interview of him. But some of the stuff that he would say is so fucking dumb. Like, you know, he discredited everything that wasn't his version of reality. Like when this guy asked him about alien abductions and how come some of them have radiation poisoning and stuff. And he explained it, because someone planted that seed in their head. I'm like, I mean, he explained it like, you know, it's suggestive power of suggestion. And it's like, dumb ass piece of shit. Like, the amount of people that didn't even know radiation poisoning was a thing. That's why I talked about that in that one podcast I did, like, 2 years ago, about, like, you know, the gaps in alien abductions and why I don't really buy most people that are like constantly saying they're experiencers. They seem to really need attention and they will just go on and on and on about how, oh, I'm taking all the time and I have a new baby every year and it's taken, and, you know, I see giant cockroaches come out from behind my fridge and I'm taking and they go on and on, but like there's no physical evidence whatsoever. And I'm like, you know, it could just be astral sleeping paralysis, but they swear it's not, that it's real as day. But they seem to thrive on it. It's almost like, say, I started telling everyone I was having astral projection, but was like depending on having it again because that's how it was like getting my attention. Like they're adamant about it. That they won't stop seeking attention on every, you know, Facebook group, you name it. Always wanting to go into details about their experiences and, but yet you have people that have actual scientific evidence they had a real experience. You know, the UFO was sighted, they, you know, disappeared for a period of time, you know, and these people end up like radiation poisoning and they end up like, a lot of them getting cancer or dying and stuff. So I don't know. There's a huge gap there. And I think a lot of it is probably more like trickster, like fae stuff, like trickster spirits and like fae and things. And, but I don't think someone breaking out with tons of like really aggressive cancer from severe radiation out of nowhere had no clue that what he was exposed to was what it was or that happened. I don't think that's power of suggestion. And like that same guy would say that sleeping paralysis and stuff is like, you know, all power of suggestion. And I'm like, I definitely think it's more to it than that. I think that these things, like, they are almost contagious. They are like these hungry ghosts, like hungry demons that like need energy. They need life. And so they start seeking it out. And if you talk to someone about your experience, if they're vulnerable or not spiritually walled up or whatever, you know, they can detect where your weak spots are. And then they try to have it happen to you too. And some of them may just be wandering demons and they just attack person here and person there. May not stick with one person, but I feel like some of us, it's like they get attached for a very long time. I don't know. It's weird because I have like, you know, like nervous system, like what do you call it? Autonomic dysfunction now and like autoimmune issues and like, you really have to work on regulating your nervous system to heal after you go through a lot of trauma. But I don't know. I'm really leaning more towards like, because oh yeah, that same guy I mentioned, like, you know, oh, you have one bad experience out of body, you never want to go do it again or whatever. And it's, I've had some positive interactions in Astral, in, like, where you wake up. I don't want to call it lucid dreaming. It really is astral, like where you wake up and you're out of your body and you're awake, but your body's not. Where I've had, I don't want to say positive, but it's like when ghosts come and visit me and actually tell me things, like on the Ghost Whisperer. Legit, I've actually had that happen a couple of times, not every day. But like where my room is full of ghosts and they all have a message to tell me, and I'm like, I am so obsessed with getting my beauty sleep after having insomnia for over a decade. I feel so bad because, like, I used to not mind not getting a lot of sleep. I was ready to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning and go hunting and fishing with my dad. I was good. But, like, after years and years of insomnia, which I don't have anymore, gratefully, but I will take whatever I need to take to knock myself out. So I sleep like a baby. But, what was I thinking? Like, the few times I've had ghosts do that to me in Astral, it wasn't painful, never felt any of the paralysis stuff. All they wanted to do was talk to me. But I'm in such shock that I realize I'm awake, but I'm not, and that there's strangers in my room, that I usually end up, like, being like, don't ever do that to me again. Please, I'm fucking tired. Like, I feel really bad about that, to be honest, because I'm like, geez, they have such useful information and they tell me amazing things that I would not have known. Like, damn, I ruined that, because they honor it. Like, I'll tell them never do it to me again, and then the same ghosts never do it to me again, and then I feel really bad about it. So I've had a few positive experiences, but I'm not this, like, wannabe, privileged space junkie that wants to, I don't know, like, whatever it is the Monroe Institute people do, or like all of these neo-privileged white shamans that, like, go and have drug music orgies and things. Like, I don't have any desire nor need for lucid or out-of-body experiences. I've had a few dreams where it's, like, so lucid and you feel your soul actually travel. I've been there, to the pyramids and things with that stuff, and I don't care for any of it, to be honest. It annoys me. It's, like, cool, but yet I did not like it. Like, something doesn't feel right, with some of that stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's because I have had so many bad experiences. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I have zero desire to deal with that shit at all. I don't know. I guess, like, a lot of us that go through a lot of the sleeping paralysis and a lot of the attacks and things, like, you don't want to have any, you can't understand the spiritual crowd that's like, oh, I've never had that, I would like to have that. It's like, okay, whatever. And then people be like, oh yeah, I had that one time. And you're like, one time? Get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't even want to talk to you today. Anyway, I need to wrap this up. This is so long, and I wanted to maybe get some tarot readings done before the day's over. So I'll talk to you later.